With just a few days left before the Broad Street 10 miler, I have decided to shoot for a PR in this race and set a personal best for slowest race yet. Cheers, y'all. Spring has sprung out here on Long Island. Quick little 3 miler in the books. It is Wednesday, May 1st. Broad Street 10 miler coming up on Sunday, May 5th. As I said, my goal is going to be to run this race slower than I ever had before. Talk a little bit more about that once I get inside because I am in desperate need of caffeine and hydration. So let's talk Broad Street 2024. Before we jump into specific strategy for the upcoming race, I did want to talk through sort of a status update of where I am in training. Also, quickly want to apologize. There is going to be some background noise. From what I can tell, my upstairs neighbor is currently nailing into his floor in a sort of horizontal Plinko board type setup and then rolling metal ball bearings across the floor because it is incredibly loud, so you might hear a little bit of background noise. But that being said, let's talk about a quick status update because I know it's been, I think, over a month now since I've put anything out on YouTube to update y'all where I'm at. You may remember training through the start of 2024 had been a bit rocky. Actually started out somewhat solid, but then the Gasparilla Distance Classic, running those 4 races across just 2 days, really, I think, overdid it for myself, pushed way too hard, and that was the last video that I put out. Was just my shin splints were through the roof, my legs were on fire, knocked me out for a couple of weeks while I let those recover. After that recovery was done, this is right around the time that last video came out, progress was going well, started to build back up very, very slowly because the goal is to build a healthy base from which to start incorporating speed work. And I just have not been able to hit that consistency piece. So that was the goal. Started really strong, has been going very strong. Only real hiccup has been like beginning of April, middle of April. Had like a 1-week stomach bug that just knocked me out. Was unable to eat for about, I think about 7 days exactly. So obviously was not running at all during that time, and then afterwards a couple days to recover. But since then have been slowly building back up. Weekly runs have been going well. Long runs have been going well. So the progress is there, and I just want to be able to continue to build. I think my main issue right now is just the number of times I'm able to get out to run each week is not quite as high as I would like it to be. I'm averaging like 3 days a week, usually twice during the week, and then a long run on the weekends. I think that's enough to maintain, but certainly not enough of a base to build from. So I'm working to incorporate more runs. That's kind of a goal on the horizon. Ideally, I would love to get back up to running 5 days a week if I can swing it. 3 days during the week and then 2 runs on the weekend is usually how I like to do it. But we take what we can get, and the progress that I've made so far is, I think, exactly what I'd be looking for, albeit a little bit behind based on that time off I had to take in April. But so far so good, and feeling relatively ready for the Broad Street 10 miler. So that being said, let's get back to the overall goal for this year's Broad Street run, and that is to set a personal record for my slowest Broad Street race yet. This will be my 5th time taking on Broad Street, although only actually my 3rd official time for the race, and 3rd official time because the first year I ran this race, I actually ran with my mom's bib for the run. As I've said, we run every year for the American Cancer Society as part of Team Determination, and I think a month, maybe 2 months before the race, she was diagnosed with her first recurrence of breast cancer and would be unable to participate as she would be beginning chemo right around the time of the race. So she reached out to me, asked if I would be willing to run in her place. Since she had a charity bib, we were able to coordinate with the charity to have my information swapped in for hers, but they were never able to adjust the name in the results. So everything else had me on it, but the actual results are under her name. So she has a pretty speedy PR for herself from 2018, but that was the first year that I ran that race, ran in her place. My 2 official times were from 2019, so the next year, and then last year, 2023. And then I have 1 more unofficial time in 2021, I think it was, in the fall. It was kind of post-COVID. The race had been canceled, rescheduled. So I think this one was in the fall of 2021, if I'm not mistaken. And this was right before my mom was going to undergo knee replacement surgery, and kind of thought of this as her last hurrah, her last big race, and so went down and surprised her on course. Didn't run the full race with her, but kind of popped in and out just to accompany her, pace her for a few miles, as well as get some training miles in for myself. So very familiar with Broad Street. I've talked about it a lot on here. It is easily one of my favorite courses, one of my favorite races. Because it's a fun course running through downtown Philly. It is a straight shot, straight down Broad Street, 10 miles point to point. It's a net downhill, so you can just cruise through this run. The city of Philly really comes out to support. And then of course, running this race every year as part of Team Determination with the American Cancer Society. Got all my gear on, just makes it even more special. I mentioned before, this is a cause that's obviously very close to our family, very important to our family, and so it is just such a phenomenal experience every year to get the family together to tackle this race as one, raise money for an incredible cause, and run in celebration of one another, of those currently going through their battle with cancer, in celebration of those who have gotten past that diagnosis, who have beaten that diagnosis, and of course in memory of those that we've lost along the way. So if you would like to donate to our team, I'll put the link down for that below. Getting very, very excited for another successful year of fundraising for this race. But back to the strategy for Sunday's run and trying to accomplish my slowest Broad Street run to date. The reason behind that is in large part informed by what happened after the Gasparilla Distance Classic, as well as what happens at many races I have run in the past, where I've gone in not to set a PR, just sort of signed up for a race for fun. When I line up at the starting line, I have a very difficult time removing myself from the desire to just see just how far I can push myself. That is 100% what happened down in Florida. I talked a lot about that, but I am just always so eager to see what kind of time I can push myself through. And what I have learned over the last couple of years, especially as I haven't been maybe as well prepared for some of the races, is that mentally I can push myself through quite a bit of strain, quite a bit of pressure on race day. But then of course that leads to just incredible soreness after the run and usually sets back my training quite a bit. So as I'm looking at this year, as I am looking towards future goals, I'm starting to set my sights on some extensive fall goals for races. I mentioned I also want to start doing some shorter distance races and being able to incorporate a little bit of speed work. And I know in order to do that, in order to hope to start adding substantial speed work to my training, I need to keep my legs healthy. And that means dialing back the effort on race day this Sunday. So that's sort of the main reasoning behind this goal. And I think setting a specific goal of, when I just tell myself I'm gonna go out there and have a good time, it's very easy to just go out there and grind through a tough workout, because on race day, that is having a good time for me. I really, really enjoy pushing through those efforts, especially with the crowd. I love to just get inside my own mind and fight through every step of that course. And so understanding that just telling myself to go out and have fun will likely lead to that result, I am setting a specific time goal, and that is to be slower than any of my previous times. So I mentioned I only actually have 2 official results from past races. The first was in 2019. I ran that one in 1 hour and 11 minutes. That's a 7:09 minute mile. And then last year, 2023, ran that one in 1 hour and 16 minutes and 43 seconds. That's about a 7:40 mile. My goal for Sunday is gonna be to fall between like 8 and 8.5 minutes. 8 minutes, absolute fastest. Closer to 8.5 is really what I think I'm gonna be aiming for. That allows me to start the race relatively slowly, not have to fight my way through the crowd, just sort of enjoy as the crowd starts to spread out and settle into a pace without having to kind of people dodge my way through. And so take it easy, nice and easy through those first couple of miles, and then just settle into really like a consistent endurance effort type run, not pushing the pace by any means, just going along for the ride and setting that specific pace goal for myself. I think it'll be much easier for me to keep an eye on the watch and just make sure that I am holding myself back. Understanding that is probably easier said than done, especially once the adrenaline kicks in, once the crowd support kicks in. I know I will likely want to continue to push it, but this is gonna be the goal that I set for myself, is just to remember the long-term goals, remember the goals for the fall, and remember that in order to achieve those goals, I need to wake up Monday morning with relatively fresh legs, ready to continue training without having to take too much time off to recover post-race. So that is the goal for this Sunday's Broad Street run. Obviously remembering to have fun the entire way, take in the entire experience, but make sure I am not overdoing it so that I can wake up next week and continue this training routine, continue building a base, because I am getting to a pretty solid place. Like, I'm feeling good on my runs and I want to continue to feel good. So as hard as it might be to hold back on race day, I know that's exactly what I need in pursuit of those eventual goals for this fall. So that's where I'm at, training everything, like I said, going pretty well, and hoping that that will continue after this race headed into next week. So we have our goal. It is a PR of sorts, but the PR that I'm going for is a record for my slowest Broad Street race to date. So stay tuned. I will be sure to update you all after the race if I am successful in that goal. But if you'd like to keep up live during race weekend, Instagram's always the best place. I'll try to get some stories and everything out there throughout the weekend, but just thrilled to be headed to Philadelphia for another Broad Street run. So thank you as always for tuning in. Hopefully this is the start to me getting back on track and continuing to make substantial progress towards those goals. I hope all of your goals are going fantastically. Until next time, I'll see you around. Cheers.